First topic, Mangalachara.
Mangalacharan. So, in that Mangalacharan, what we have done, what we have understood that it is of three types. We say Namaste, so I pay respect, gratitude, and seek the blessings from the teacher or the God. Second type of Mangalacharan is to seek blessings from the existence for everyone because it helps me to purify my mind. That is the main aspect. So, in one way, we are selfish, that we are seeking blessings from others, but the result is that it helps me to purify the mind. So, in both the types of Mangalacharan, invocation or creating an auspicious moment in the journey is all about that I see God is outside, teacher is outside. It is an objective type. So our master, this master says, the moment you make the God or a teacher objective, you are dealing with the matter. It is a binary format. So our Mangalacharan is that I am of the nature of the consciousness, and that consciousness is the teacher, the God, and all the beings. And if that is so, then I'm the real self. So I'm doing a Mangalacharan to the same real self. How I do it? Internally, anytime, anywhere, I simply become aware. What normally we talk about. I become aware that I'm the real self. I remember. It's a kind of self remembering. Self remembering? Are you arrogant? No, I'm not arrogant. I'm not talking about the body, mind, intellect, and ego. I'm talking what is beyond and behind the word of the name and the form. I see that consciousness behind that body and mind complex is the supreme consciousness, is the God, is the goddesses. So that was our first topic. And it is self evident. I'm conscious of you, I know you, hence I'm consciousness. But the way I do not see the phenomena of sand and the sunlight creates a mirage water, I only see the mirage. So lot of doubt, lot of impurities, lot of ignorance is there. So let us know what is. So the second topic we covered, there are 8 attributes in 7 pairs. So do I need to do the practice in order to know that pure consciousness? This master says no, you need an understanding. You need an understanding, you are just in the knowledge. You remove the ignorance. So, what is the way to get the knowledge? It is the self inquiry. So, I'm inquiring into not only the nature of the self. So, the master has already answered that here are the 8 attributes, characteristics of this consciousness, and it is all pervading. It is not the part, property, and product of anything, it is unchanging. So I have an indirect understanding that, after all, behind all the changes, there must be something that never changes. We have an indirect reference. No, indirect reference. So let make this indirect knowledge into direct. That is known as awakening, that is known as realizing. Uh, is it so simple? Yes. You can realize all the powers in you. You can just feel that sense that it is happening. Oh, the self inquiry. So, what the self inquiry will do, the self inquiry will remove the ignorance. We can reject that ignorance and the knowledge is realized. So, what self inquiry contains? When we are a highest level of a seeker, Shravan, listening and learning, contemplation and reflection, contemplation and reflection, and third part is nididhyasan. So, what happens in nididhyasan? Basically, when I have reflected too much, I find out, oh, I find out that I'm already in the state of meditation. That is known as the nididhyasan. Nididhyasan basically is not a practice. It's a realization. It's an awareness. Are you calm? Yes, I'm calm. At present, yes. So you know what is calmness. You experience what is calmness. And now you are conscious of the calmness. That exactly, all the three together, results into the state of mindfulness without doing any practice. As long as we are doing the practice, we will continue to do that. As long as we are doing the practice, that is the preparatory phase. We may be doing 2 hours of the practice, 5 hours of the practice. I was completing a book on Hatha Yoga as taught by the two masters, Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Gheranda Samhita. So in that Gheranda Samhita and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, I completed yesterday. It will go for publication. So I wrote on the basis of that how a teacher of Hatha Yoga and a student of Hatha Yoga or a seeker of Hatha Yoga should do. So after writing the entire book, I realized that I should also write in the very beginning that what a Hatha Yoga seeker should do every day. So I found out it is written by these masters that you should have a minimum 2 hours. So they are the great masters. That's why they have written 2 hours. So, but I mentioned minimum 4 hours per day is required for more than 12 years to reach to that state. Four hours. 4 hours, you say? What do you mean by 4 hours? 4 hour means that you have already done 6 months of cleansing practices of the body. The body is already closed. So that does not come under the preparatory phase. Oh, you have just started, keep on doing. And then now 4 hours, at least half an hour you need to do the cleansing practice, half an hour you need to do the minimum physical practice, asanas. Another half an hour you should do the prayer, Mangalachara, the first and the second time. So now already 2 hours is gone. The next 2 hours in which you combine the pranayama, mudra, Hatha Yoga mudra plus meditation together. And if you are really the highest level of a seeker, then you should do the same practice minus cleansing practice, minus asana practice in the afternoon and also in the evening. So 4 plus 2 plus 2. 8 hours per day when nobody disturbs you. When nobody disturbs you. So when you are living a personal, professional, and social life, I just made it very clear to everyone. So I also found in the Kurma Purana, there is one ancient text. They have written a specific type of the practices to be done. So you need an 8 hours or minimum 4 hours exclusive time per day for 10 to 12 years to actually do the authentic Hatha Yoga practices to reach to that level. And yes, you can do. You can get all the powers and etc. etc. But what is happening here that when we are doing a self-inquiry, we are removing the ignorance. Knowledge is being realized. So I'm getting a direct knowledge. I'm getting a direct realization here. And that is why it is known as that in Jnana Yoga, you reach, provided your mind has clearly told you, it is saturated in you that you are, now you want to understand. You have clearly understood what is ignorance, what is impurity, what is restlessness, and now you are living a very calm and peaceful life. Your mind is constantly into that state of contemplation and reflection. You want to explore on the basis of the knowledge. So, what is going to happen as more and more you are contemplating and reflecting, you are making your intellect qualified. We have taken up these three questions. The mind can know the real self directly, not mind can know the real self indirectly. When? As long as the mind is unqualified. So now the qualified mind or the intellect can know the real self directly. That mind illumines the real self. And once the illumination takes place, we realize that that illumination is not coming from the mind. It is the self luminous. It is the self evident. So the first topic was about the Mangalacharan, and in that Mangalacharan, we have understood that I am the real self, I am the supreme consciousness myself. So just to remembering, normally what happens when you wake up in the morning, we remember I am by name, by form. So the moment you have a name in the form, then you are an individual. And who is an individual? Consciousness plus reflected consciousness. You see, your mind is not going to the pure consciousness. You remove the pure consciousness, individual does not exist. So this master says, why don't you remember? No, you are saying that. So then we in the second topic, we understood the 7 pairs of the characteristics of that real self. That real self. Now question comes, third topic comes here. The third topic says that Master says, don't worry. Once you have understood the first two topics, I will tell you the benefits of this type of Mangalacharya. So he is answering everything. He is removing all the doubts. So once we have understood these two topics, and these two topics tells me that I am the real self, I am the pure consciousness, I am the supreme consciousness. So because in the midst of your personal, professional, social, family lives, even you need to simply remember that I am the real self. The moment you have an anger, remember I'm the real self, then check where the anger goes away. I'm the real self. Consciousness cannot become angry. I already know the 7 attributes. So what happened? Those past habits will return, and I return to recalling, remembering. So what is going to happen? The anger will definitely stop, because it will remember the entire movement of the anger coming from the desire. So what we are doing, we are making our intellect sharper and the sharper. We are making the intellect very subtle, 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 subtle. I covered that topic, that we not only define the real self, we refine the real self, and we reinforce by remembering. We reinforce by remembering. We do it habitually. We have some total disagreement with the honey, and we are in a mall. So let us go to the house and then we will discuss. Don't argue now. So we are remembering. But we are remembering an individual. And here we are remembering that we are the real self. That makes a tremendous difference. Whether to go into the mall or whether you are talking in the mall or at the home, you don't change. You are still the real self. So that is the first benefit that master says, that remember, this is the benefit. So you need to remember, you need to revise, you need to become aware, and check that if the mind is not helping you, then it means we need to continue the practice also. It does not mean that we should not follow this higher journey. We should keep on. That makes us a higher level of a seeker. Second benefit is that the mind is constantly going to remove the impurity instantly. You need not to go back home. Let me do the practice. I have lot of anger. Let me do an anger management. As such, there is no anger management. Anger is an effect. The cause is the desire, and desire is caused by the delusion. So I don't remove the delusion, and I'm managing my anger. I'm managing my effect. Effect is anger, reaction. Oh, it is not possible. Then you keep on managing your anger until you die. But by remembering that I de-identify, I get detached. That anger belongs to the individual, not to the real self. Come on. That pure consciousness cannot become angry. So, even when you think, you see, from learning from this teacher, I raised a question to everyone. I think I have raised a question to you also, that can you become angry tomorrow at 10 a.m.? No, do you see? Now you will see that, I have followed this. So, lot of contemplation, and then it clicked to my mind, oh, this question is very relevant. Forget about tomorrow at 10 a.m. Can you become angry now? No, I cannot become angry. There is no reason about it. The reason comes from the individual consciousness. The individual consciousness lives in the ignorance. And because of the ignorance, you have a desire to seek something outside. Your desire is not fulfilled. That's why you're angry. So, you see, that thought process, what is happening? You are making your intellect sharper and sharper. You have understood, you have hit back the very root cause of the anger. What a beautiful way to, to embark on a journey. So the intellect becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. And the subtler intellect can only grasp and understand this journey. And it also makes you clear. When you start doing this in your daily life, it will help you. There will be a lot of revelations that people don't realize. The seeker does not realize in the beginning. What are those revelations? Yeah, for example, just an example. I give an example of honey. it suits everyone, especially those who are married and those who were married and now divorced. It or even those who are single. It helps all of them because it gives me a different perspective how to think, speak, and act in my relationship, at my personal level, at my professional level, at the family level, with my kids. It gives totally a new perspective. A son or a daughter is pushing you hard to do a thing and that you realize that it is not good for him and her, but your intellect is very subtle. It has realized the expectations behind that activity, and then you know how to present yourself in calmness and peace. So there are a lot of revelations in your life. At every point, there is a problem. And because we are the highest level of a seeker, we are doing this self inquiry, we have adopted this Mangala Charan. It is going to help us not only in personal, professional, social life. So that is the third topic. Finished. So many topics will be finished in few minutes. So don't think that every topic will take many sessions. Now the topic 4. Topic 4 is a question from a seeker. Seeker says, you are arrogant, master. You claim that you are the consciousness. You claim that you are the supreme consciousness. You are rejecting the entire traditional wisdom. You are rejecting the traditional wisdom. It is not appropriate. It is not right to do that in Eastern wisdom. Because I have a lot of impurities in my mind. So my mind has to raise those questions. I am a seeker. I have not yet realized. So do you see that my mind went back as a non-seeker, or non-seeker went back to the triangular format? I have already made it clear. It has gone to the triangular format. Here is the God. Here is my problem. Here I am. Please solve. It is always better not to reject the tradition. Accept the God in the temple, in the church. Accept the God is outside. And I have a problem, and I'm different from a problem. But that problem chases me, so I have to solve the problem. So I have a lot of fear. So I have a lot of fear. I want to hide my fear. So I blame the teacher that you are arrogant. So I have to think of it. You see that, sometimes, you seem to be very arrogant. Come on, let me think what I spoke. Arrogance that comes with individual consciousness, or that statement is coming from the real self? So the statement may be the same, but from where it is coming? So when I say I am the real self, you are also the real self. There is only one real self. So I have no reason to react and reject you, because there is only one real self. There is only one water in billions of ways. So my mind is focused on the water. Your mind is focused on the wave. That is why you are saying that why you are rejecting this tradition. It does not need any practice. It needs an understanding. It needs an awareness. You need not to wait for the wave to fall down to become water to realize it is water. You know it. It is. I am real self, you are real self. I am peace, you are peace. I am happiness, you are happiness. So that is the question of. So, until maybe another 8 or 9 topics, the seeker raises the question and this master answers the question. So this is the topic fourth, is the question from a seeker, and then the answer comes. Didn't I tell you that God is not different from you? Don't you realize that the God is not different from I am? Did not I tell you that your prayer, your meditation is just remembering and knowing that I am the real self? Did not I tell you that this is the greatest form of the prayer? What exactly you do in prayer? You are demanding something. So even if you are demanding something, why don't you demand from the highest that is already present with you here and now? Why don't you declare that I am Satchidanand? You already declared that I am angry, I am upset, I am divorcing. So that is already a part of the individual consciousness. Don't you realize that? Now the seeker keeps mum. Seeker is listening. That is a fact. So can I reject this fact by creating a fabricated fact that I did not understand the traditional wisdom correctly? What that means? I have to go to a church and temple. I have to go to a master. Then only I do namaste. No, why don't you live in that state of namaste all the time? Why don't you see that teacher is present in your honey so all the fight stops? Now your perception is totally different. So your perception is your knowledge, your perception is your awareness. So why you are running and reject that? Why you are saying that I am arrogant? Why you want to say that I am rejecting a tradition? You want everything to be done physically, mentally, or emotionally, which is not you. That is not you. You have an emotion, but you are different from emotion. You have an intellect, but you are different from the intellect. You have the body, but you are different from the body. Why don't you realize this? And then talk to me. Then prove me that I'm arrogant. Some people listen to these talks who are non-seekers, and then they declare to the world that I'm the God.
But real self can see real self. Ignorance can see only ignorance.
Ignorance can see only ignorance. So that is why, Socrates or Confucius, or maybe Socrates said, when you claim I know myself, you don't know yourself. You need not to claim. You are what you are. Done. Why to worry? Why are you so arrogant? Seeker is telling story of his own mind, not the story of the state in which the master is living. So he's indirectly hinting, you don't know in which state I'm living, this master is saying. That even you is not you. It is the same consciousness. So I'm teaching you means I'm teaching myself. I'm teaching an individual consciousness. So question of arrogance is not there. So you think that I'm arrogant, but it is not. When you are owning the responsibility that the grace belongs to you, that the blessing is all coming from that supreme consciousness. But the seeker is saying, at least, understand this, my teacher. Understand that you should receive blessing at least from the God in the material world. So the seeker in this topic and the master, the conversation continues. So the seeker wants to declare from his limited understanding that why don't you recognize the difference between the individual, between the world outside and the God? And the master is saying, why don't you drop the triangular format and why don't you understand there are only two things in the world? On this topic, there is another text which has 500 verses, that there are only two things in the world. But he has summarized it. So why don't you understand there is only a matter and the consciousness? Matter and the rejecting the tradition is not appropriate. That is the question coming from the master. So now the master, after discussion, he says that come to a main point. Do you think that when I say I'm the real self, I'm the supreme consciousness, it is an act of self-glorification? No. You are looking body-mind complex as self, but I'm looking real self as a self. So I have to glorify it. It is independent. It is all-pervading. It is of the nature of peace and happiness, love and wisdom. I have to declare it. So I'm not doing self-glorification. You are seeing from the perspective that this body and mind complex is me, but I'm not. So we will come back to that topic later, that body-mind complex is an individual consciousness which is different from the real self. Where is individual consciousness? Consciousness plus body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, problem, worries, pleasure, pain, etc. That is individual consciousness. And I'm talking of the real self. I've already given you an understanding from the 8 characteristics of this real self. You have forgotten that. And you are singing the tune of Mangalacharan that you should do namaste, you should divide. I'm saying I'm the real self means I'm the absolute reality. I am an individual is equal to consciousness plus name in the form. This is how we say in Eastern wisdom. So we don't go into detail. So when we examine deeply, then we will go into the detail. So we simply say consciousness plus what is the name in the form? The body, breath, mind, intellect, thought, pain, pleasure, duality, conflict. So that individual consciousness is a micro aspect of the God that is, we have given a specific name, Ishwar. I will go into detail, but just for the sake of understanding, individual consciousness, whether you or me, is equal to consciousness plus name in the form at micro level. And consciousness plus name in the form at a macro level is Ishwar, is God. And from that Ishwar comes the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesha, etc., etc., etc. 330 million gods and goddesses. So these gods and goddesses are the waves in the water. But before the wave and just presence of the water creates an Ishwar. That is why we say Ishwar is the innermost self behind the mind. You have heard the word innermost self. You have gone to many teachers, many teachers, oh, go deep inside. Oh, we are talking of the innermost self. Even behind that innermost self, there is a consciousness. When that consciousness takes a universal name in the form, is all pervading, is Ishwar. And after that, we have a name in the form which is known as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesheva, huh? Ganesha, Krishna, Durga, Kali, etc., etc., etc. So, after explaining this, the master is saying, did you understand? Individual consciousness is nothing but the Ishwar at the macro level. And that Ishwar at the macro level is individual consciousness at the micro level. Physics. Clear state. No doubt about it. The master says, please remain in a binary format. Did you understand this? Now, seeker has no answer to give. But then he creates another doubt. That doubt lives in our mind, but it does not come up easily. And so the master gives another, the seeker raises the doubt. Who is the seeker? The master creates that doubt which becomes the seeker. And the same master answers. And we also have the same doubt. That is the beauty of understanding and the genius of this master. So the master is pointing indirectly to the seeker. Are you still in a triangular format? My son, my friend, you are talking of nature, God, and the man. You are talking of individual consciousness. The world outside, you see them, it is separate. What you see is separate. Air is separate from you because you claim that you are a body mind complex. So you are the air is there, all the matter is there. So you are talking of the world is separate. How the world can be separate from you? And what you say, what you see, what you experience in ignorance is not you. So the seeker says, oh, body is a part of the matter, so the breath, the mind, intellect, and ego, and I have separated by declaring this is material world and this is I am. Is wrong to think, is wrong to declare. Why don't you declare that I am the real self? Real self means I am the pure consciousness. So I'm adding one more thing here. Shankaracharya, great master, has written that how to pray and seek the blessing. Pratih smarami hridi sansufuradvatm tattvam. So what should be the prayer of that highest level of a seeker? If you still believe that you have to pray, so pray. So when you wake up in the morning, you say to yourself, I remember the reality, I remember the real self, that is supreme consciousness. That is shining brilliantly in the heart. That is self-luminous. I'm talking of the 8 attributes. Shankaracharya made such a beautiful verse. I'll send you that also. Existence, consciousness, and bliss. Every day in the morning, with eyes open or closed, you just say to yourself, after all, you are offering a prayer by thought in the world. So let this mantra be with you all the time. The goal of that is the goal of all the sages and the masters of Eastern wisdom. So you are directly hitting the awakening and realization. So what he says, I remember in the early morning the self-effulgent or self-luminous real self which is of the nature of Satchidanand, which is the goal of all the great masters. That is also the fourth state of consciousness. We have sleep, waking, and dream. You see, it is purifying the mind. The intellect is becoming sharper. It is the fourth state. I am that real self that is eternal, that is beyond the attributes of the name and the form, which is beyond waking, dreaming, and sleeping. So the so it's a question. It's basically a challenge to the ignorant mind of a seeker. Did you understand? So the master is pointing to first verse of that prayer and so called that Satchidanand, knowing rest is matter. Knowing I am the Satchidanand, at the same time, indirectly I am knowing that the rest is the matter. I live in the binary format. All gods and goddesses are manifestation like the ways of the same consciousness. To realize that is the goal of all the seekers, to remember this, to recall all the time. So, what is going to happen? That will take us to the fourth state of the consciousness. Am I not that supreme consciousness? Not different from the body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego. Can I claim that I am the body? Answer is no. Do I claim that I'm only the waker, sleeper, and the dreamer? No, I'm beyond all that. So every day in the morning, Pratah bhajami manasa vacha vachasam gamyam vacho vibhanti nikhala yadanu grahena. At dawn in the morning, I sing the praise of that real self, which cannot be known by the mind and the speech. Now, this is my prayer now. This is my prayer. Normally, what happens when we are in the visual consciousness? When we are in the visual consciousness, that desire always remains. At least you fulfill my expectation. You are the means to achieve all kinds of pleasure. You are the means to avoid all the pains in my life. So you are not you are not more than a car or a smartphone. You are my instrument. So that prayer puts you into a deeper level of ignorance. So the master says, look at this. Master is so beautiful. Shankara says, at the morning I sing the praise of that is not attainable by the mind and the speech. And with the same mind and the speech, I go to the gods and goddesses demanding. But by the grace of which, by the grace of that consciousness, the world is shining. I'm connecting myself to the outer world. That which every text declare. That which every text declare. How they declare? Not this, not this. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not the ego, I'm the real. Mano buddhir ahankara chittaninam. So both are happening simultaneously. Both is happening. I am negating. We discussed about it. There are two I. So now you can easily understand this. We have two I. One I says I am the Mano buddhir ahankara chittaninaham nacha shrotra jivhai nacha ghana netre. I'm not these five sense organs, not these five motor organs, I'm not the five elements, then who am I? The last line, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. It's not a practice. It's just absorbing that binary format completely. And that is why every day in the morning I follow this. Early in the morning to the eternal state, I just remember that consciousness lives eternally, who is full, beyond the darkness. With reference to that consciousness, the world simply appears but do not exist. It is like the waves in the water. So when I see the apparent reality every day in the morning. What is going to happen? The way those examples that it's a mirage water, it does not exist. So that remembering, defining, redefining, reinforcing the mind drops the impurity, and then it looks at the body also appears but does not exist. The husband appears to exist but it does not. When the husband appears, worldly life, it appears. You have thought, you have spoken, you have acted. You are a boss in your office, not outside. You know it. But if you start claiming I'm the boss everywhere, problem is there. So that is what the master is saying. Master is very clear. And then he says that it is just like a snake in the rope. There is no snake. Why you see the snake? Can you see the snake in full light? No. Can you see the snake in ignorance? So those who do not see the snake in darkness, they are living in ignorance. Can you see the snake in the full sunlight, brilliant light? No. Rope is rope. So there is some confusion in the mind. There is some ignorance in the mind. There is some impurity in the mind. So that is why you see the snake. You are confused, you have a misunderstanding, realize that. So it means I'm saying to myself, I have to realize as long as I see the snake in a rope, I have to remove that. Another, one who recites these three, one who recites means the last, just the three statements that we have spoken, it speaks of the absolute truth. Don't forget to say that every day, in the morning, afternoon, all the time, whenever you think, whenever you feel you are suffering, because the goal of the Eastern wisdom is to end the suffering and awaken and realize it. So I offer the Mangalacharan, and my offering is purely subjective. What is that subjective? Topic 2 discussed in detail. Then the seeker says, no, third topic. Third topic is the benefit of doing this kind of a Mangalacharan. This kind of a Mangalacharan. So even after the master spoke about the benefit and the result, that your intellect is going to be subtler and subtler so that it gets qualified to see the real self. So the seeker rejected that notion. Seeker is already obsessed with what he is doing impulsively, habitually, unconsciously, in ignorance. So we have to contemplate and reflect that is it clear in my head as a seeker What the teacher is teaching, educating us, am I very clear about it that I continue to live in the binary format? The moment I forget, I recall and remember. That recall, that remembering is my practice, if you want to say the practice. That is the first benefit. And obviously, then what happens? You will get the benefit. The master is saying that. Because now your mind will always remain clear. It is the same consciousness appears as individual consciousness is reacting to you. So you have a clarity that individual consciousness is reacting so that you are refining your thought, speech, and action to respond to the world outside of people. Don't you think it's a great benefit? This is what the master is saying. So then the three topics are covered. The fourth topic coming from the seeker. This wrong notion takes a lot of time to reject. You have to do it internally. So that question comes: why you are rejecting a tradition? Why you are becoming an arrogant? Why you are becoming an arrogant, declaring that I am the supreme consciousness, I am the real self? So sometime our mind is not ready to accept. Mind means the seeker is not ready to accept. So what we need to do, we need to contemplate again and again. We have to recheck and re-examine and reflect the binary format. There are only two things in the world. One is the matter and another is consciousness. So I have to re-examine my each and every thought process. That how come I have come to a conclusion that it is being an arrogant? Yes, it is being an arrogant if I am speaking from the individual consciousness. But if I am speaking on behalf of the real self, I am expressing my mind, nothing to do with arrogance. That is the fourth question. So the fourth question, first he explains, he says, here are the objections from my side. And then he suggests to the teacher in the fourth topic that why don't you follow the tradition? So there are two things together. So when I reject something, I have already accepted some notion inside my head, which I did not examine.
Yeah.
Which I did not examine, and I say, you follow this. Did you examine? Did it give you the benefit? You did not examine. So that understanding, look at it, the way, the chain of the thoughts and the contemplation and the reflection. So because now the fifth topic, he says, what is the fifth topic? Remembering the highest reality is the right approach to begin the journey of the self-discovery that I just explained. So that is the fifth topic. 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, we have covered 3 topics today. So remembering the highest reality, and then the master clarifies it has nothing to do with the self-glorification. It has nothing to do with being arrogant. And master, if I look into his mind, I have a very small intellect, then he's saying that if you are arrogant, you will realize that it is coming from the individual consciousness. It is coming from the impure mind. It is coming out of the ignorance. So you need not to declare it outside. You have to live into that state by recalling, remembering. So there is nothing to. And then the master makes it very clear. Do you understand when you say go and pray to God and God is outside? And when I'm saying that remember individual consciousness is equal to consciousness plus name and the form at a micro level. Ishwar, that God whose manifestation are different gods and goddesses lying in the temple and the churches, are nothing but third level of manifestation. So what you are at the individual level, at the micro level, is the same Ishwar at the macro level. What is a common factor? The consciousness is the common factor. So why don't you directly pray that consciousness instead of praying yourself or glorifying anything outside? It makes sense. It makes sense to a seeker, but it does not make a sense to a non-seeker. So that is why Krishna says in Gita, it is a royal secret. I think I covered that topic. It's a royal secret, still it is an open secret. It is here and now. You are a seeker, you will realize it is an open secret. And you will realize it is a royal secret. Why it is a royal secret? You need not to do anything. You sit anywhere, contemplate, reflect. The mind goes out of the ignorance. You live into that reality. That means the royal. The royal, who are royal, like Bill Gates, He has a pilot, he has a plane, he has a driver, he has 50 cars, he has a big house. Just the moment anything comes out of his mouth, everything is fulfilled. He need not to do anything. So that is the meaning of royal. It is a royal secret. The secret is to be understood, to be known to only few. That is the meaning of the secret. I know something and we only know something together. But then the Master Krishna, intelligently, with his genius, he says it is a royal secret, but it is an open secret. You know it, it is open. You don't know it, it is not. What's the difference? It's the difference between the ignorance and knowledge. Or you can say it is the difference between the self-ignorance and the self-knowledge. Self-ignorance. Self-ignorance claims, I am the body-mind complex, the world is different from me, I have to struggle, I live my personal, professional and social and the family life, and I have lot of challenges. And how do you live in self-knowledge? That real self is not at all affected by anything in the world of change. So that individual consciousness in the world is nothing but same at the micro and the macro level. It is nothing but matter plus consciousness in ignorance. The matter and the consciousness do not meet in ignorance at all. They never meet. But I have a wrong notion that they meet. That is why I am saying my hand is conscious. It is moving. What about the earthquake? Oh, earth is moving. Earth is conscious. Recently we had an earthquake in different parts of the world. The electron proton is moving. conscious. No, not at all. No, not at all. First topic, let me start the journey of the self discovery with auspiciousness. Auspiciousness means that moment, that time, that location, that presence is always auspicious. It can only be done when I realize that I am the subjective reality. I am consciousness, not less than, not more than that. And that consciousness is explained in 8 different characteristics. It is self-luminous, it is self-evident, it is all-pervading, it is beyond the time and the space. Why it is beyond the time and the space which is not changing, and etc. etc. So if I am that consciousness, why don't I realize? Because of the ignorance. So if I remove the ignorance, I will realize that state, that consciousness, yes. So that is, once the seeker settles in that understanding, he is the highest level of a seeker. But the master says no in the topic. No, first he explains the benefit in the topic 3. What are the results that you start bringing about a change in your thought, speech, and action in your daily living? You have been desiring that I want to think, speak, and act in such a way to bring about a change in my life, expecting a different result. Now, the different result will come. The fourth one, the seeker rejects and says that you are arrogant from his ignorance in the mind. And the master says it has nothing to do with ignorance, it has more to do with the journey of the self discovery. Think of it, contemplate, reflect. We will meet again